Welcome to XYPN Radio, where your host Alan Moore brings you into a community of fee-only financial planners who want to profitably and successfully serve Gen X and Gen Y clients. If you're ready to get the knowledge you need from leaders in your field, learn from forward-thinking advisors, and take action on your own goals, XYPN Radio is the show for you. Here's your host.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of XYPN Radio. I am your host, Alan Moore. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's episode features an interview with Brent Carnduff, who's the owner of Advisor Web Marketing and is an SEO expert. So I worked with Brent on my Serenity Financial Consulting website several years ago and was amazed at the difference that a little bit of focus on SEO can make. So this interview was a ton of fun because we were able to dig into what SEO or search engine optimization really means for financial advisors. You're going to hear the two of us really nerd out over SEO as we discuss kind of the four areas of SEO focus and how you can leverage each one of them for your site. We also talked about Google AdWords and Facebook ads as a way to drive traffic to your financial planning site, and then closed out with some tips on things you can start doing today to build the foundation of your SEO to jumpstart the process of getting found on Google. Now remember, you can access the show notes and additional resources at xyplanningnetwork.com/30. And remember that you can join our VIP community at xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP, which is a great place to come if you want to ask Brent additional SEO questions and interact with other listeners of the show. Now, this month's shows are brought to you by Wealthbox CRM, a technology partner of the XY Planning Network. Designed for financial advisors, Wealthbox is simple, beautiful, and collaborative CRM. As their tagline says, Wealthbox is CRM you'll actually enjoy. You can start a free trial in 30 seconds at wealthbox.com, and stay tuned for our upcoming interview with the founders of Wealthbox, John Rourke and Dan Ferranti. So without further ado, here's my interview with Brent Carnduff. Hey, Brent, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Ellen. Glad to be here. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so for listeners out there, Brent and I met back in, I guess it was 2012 when I was launching my firm. No, it was actually back before then. I think we had met when I worked at Rick Kaler's firm, my first financial planning firm. So it's been a while.
It has been. It's interesting. I was just telling somebody before I came on that I had talked to you when you were with Rick Kaler, and then I'd worked with you at Serenity, and then you and I have done some business together. And so all those years we've worked fairly closely together, and we have yet to meet in person.
And it's the beauty of virtual work, huh?
For sure. There's no doubt that it can work. That someday I hope we meet in person, but we're able to transact a lot of business without doing it so far.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we've lived. I mean, I'm in Montana. You were in Idaho, which is not too far in northwestern distance. 6 hours is right around the corner, so a 6-hour drive is no big deal. But now you're down in Vegas, correct?
Yeah, just you moved a little bit too close. I had to leave.
that happens more frequently than I want to admit.
Yeah. I'm hoping Vegas might be a good place to actually meet up at some point in one of the many conferences you guys travel around to. That's a good point.
I always think it's funny when financial planning organizations put conferences in Vegas because you just watch all of these financial advisors go nuts, and it's kind of amusing to watch, but it is a great spot. It's cheap to get to, that sort of thing. So end up having them there, but
a lot of distractions.
So today we're going to be talking SEO, search engine optimization, which is kind of some fancy words that listeners have heard us talk about before on the show, but never in detail. But before we get started, I want to hear a little bit about your career and kind of what led you to become an SEO expert and how you even become an SEO expert. So did you get a college degree in something to do with marketing, or did SEO come in after you were in college? Kind of what was your path?
Yeah, so, it came in definitely after I was in college. I was a elementary school teacher and a high school basketball coach in a small Idaho town for about 17 years. As my kids were getting older and I was looking the second half of my career, I thought I don't really want to teach for another 20, 25 years. And so started looking around at what I might like to do. And at that time, I had started looking more at my finances, looking at preparing for college for the kids and retirement planning and those kinds of things, and found the whole element of financial planning really interesting. Read an article about how there's going to be so much growth in the industry and stuff, and decided I was going to go into financial planning. And so I quit coaching and went to started working on an MBA in financial planning through California Lutheran University. And while I was there, I got involved in a hobby website. I'd never really been involved in online much at all. Facebook and them had just come on. I said I was never going to be on Facebook, and had no interest in blogging at all. And I started getting involved in this hobby retail site, and I found somebody locally to develop it, just a regular, simple site. And when it was ready, he sat down with me and he said, I don't do any marketing. I don't do any SEO. You're going to have to do a lot of reading. And so I started to, and I really found what was happening online really interesting, really exciting, the stuff that was happening to allow business owners to reach a new audience or an audience in a different way, and became very interested in it. And as much as I like the social media side of things, I always found the SEO a little bit more interesting for me. It kind of was it's kind of the same stuff I got out of it as I got out of coaching. There's a lot of the tactical, strategical stuff. You have to be a continuing learner and study things. And so I really especially like the SEO side of stuff. So I went back to my university and said, I'm going to complete my degree, but instead of becoming a financial advisor, I'm going to market for financial advisors. And I was fortunate. They were just actually going through the process of hiring an SEO company for the university. And so I was able to work alongside through the hiring process and then work with the company to kind of get my feet wet and see how they do their work. And then the fellow that designed my website for me, my original website, got me my first 2 clients, SEO clients in Idaho. And that kind of started it. About a year later, I all of a sudden had a few other clients coming on board, and I quit my teaching job. And so I've been doing this now full-time since about 2010.
That's so awesome. It's amazing how side hustles can become full-time jobs.
It is. The internet has opened up so much opportunity for people. It's incredible.
It really has. And we talk a lot about this on other episodes, looking at how to help clients with side hustles and, kind of developing your own side hustle as an advisor when you're launching a firm to have a side income. I mean, truth be told, XYPN was my side hustle. Right. It was supposed to be a side gig that ended up taking off and ended up selling my RIA because of it. So it's kind of funny how that works. But let's define SEO, because I think people hear SEO or search engine optimization all the time, and I don't know that we really tell them what it means. So, when you say you're doing SEO work, what does that even mean for someone?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And the other thing that happens with SEO is there are a lot of, scams, for lack of a better word. There's a lot of misrepresentation. So SEO, search engine optimization, it is basically trying to help a business show up early on the search pages for if someone does a search for a keyword related to your industry. Let's say they're doing a financial advisor in wherever, Chicago, and you want to show up as a result for that. So SEO, there's a series of steps on your site, off your site, through other marketing channels that we can do to help Google understand what you're about and to be able to tell if you're actually an authority within that subject, so that you have a chance to appear on the search rankings when somebody does that search.
So basically, it's how to win Google.
It is. It's today's yellow pages. I use that analogy a lot. If you look back to the old phone books, white pages, people could find you if they knew your name. They could look up alphabetically specifically for you. But if they didn't know your name but were looking for your services, you had to be in the yellow pages. And basically, search engine optimization puts you into the yellow pages. If somebody's looking for your services but doesn't know specifically about you or your company, they still have a chance of finding you.
Because really, people don't go past the first page or two of Google, right? I mean, ultimately, they're looking at kind of the first few search results, because Google has gotten so good at curating search results that we've become, I think, pretty lazy, that we can just kind of click the first couple and probably find it. I mean, so really the goal is how to get on the front page of Google with whatever keywords are that you're really targeting. Is that fair?
That is, yes. And you're right. About 5% of searchers go beyond the first page. So if you're not on the first page, 5%? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're not on the first page, you're not really being found for your broad terms. Well, any terms on the first page. But so what you're looking at, and it's getting harder to be found on Google. There's more and more competition. Google has gotten better at providing answers, and so they are filling more of the search up with either paid ads or some of the knowledge graph stuff where the answer is just right there. They're not pointing to a website. And so it's become very competitive, and part of it is you have to become more niche in your search terms or the services or areas you're providing services for.
listeners are shaking their heads because they know the word niche is going to come up on every episode of XYPN Radio. I love that you're the one that brought it up this time, and we're definitely going to dig into that piece.
Okay, yeah, it's huge now.
So we say Google when we talk SEO.
Right.
Obviously, the number one search engine. YouTube is number two search engine. Is number three even relevant? Do we need to be talking Bing, Yahoo, any of these other search engines, or do we just really need to focus on Google at this point, given search traffic?
Primarily, we focus on Google. Mostly, they overlap. What's good for Google is good for Bing. Bing is a little bit... So Google owns about 65% of the search traffic. It varies a little bit between 65 and 70. Yahoo, Bing make up the other parts of it. But typically, if you're doing what's good for Google, you're probably doing what's good for Bing and Yahoo as well.
Okay, so when we say Google, we mean all search engines, but ultimately we're kind of paying attention to Google. Now, does anybody really know the formula to get on the front page of Google? I mean, is there a predefined do X, Y, and Z and Google will love you, or is it more of a black box?
So there's a little bit of art and science. There are definitely things. Google actually works with, some people think that SEO is not approved by Google or it's illegal or whatever, and that's not at all the case. There are certainly tactics that some SEOs try to use that are frowned upon, but generally Google works fairly closely with SEOs. They actually have spokespeople that release information to SEOs. So there are definitely steps that we know, and part of it is released from Google or the other search engines, and part of it is there are some sites that specialize. They have all kinds of software, and they kind of specialize in monitoring and reporting SEO. And so they'll do experiments, and once somebody finds something that works, they share it, and then the other SEOs read it and pick it up and stuff. So there are definitely things that we know are beneficial, but yet you can end up doing all of those sometimes and not have it work. I know even Google. I'm reading a book called Googleplex right now, and it's really interesting. Well, for me, it's really interesting. Always got to make
clarify,
yeah. But one of the things that I found interesting, they were trying to they always try different searches and then get feedback on it and tweak their algorithm continuously to make sure that it's getting the highest quality search. And they were trying to do something with, I think it was running shoes. And they'd finally tweaked it so that everything looked like the proper order, the best results were coming up, except for the number one was showing a gnome wearing tennis shoes, and they could not get rid of it. And finally a guy walked in one day to one of their meetings and said, I got rid of it. And he held up the gnome. He went and bought it. There was only one of them, and then it worked. So it's even within Google, they're changing it, slight modifications, daily, multiple times a day, constantly testing now, more so in the last couple of years. That has really accelerated. So we never know exactly, and Google doesn't reveal everything. They don't want to give their secrets up to their competitors, and they don't want the SEOs to know everything because it gets abused. And so they give us guidelines. There are definitely best practices. There are things that we find that work, and I'm involved in researching every day and writing about it. So, as are other SEOs. So we try to stay in touch with what's going on. But there's always a little bit of mystery out there as well.
Yeah, and Google is known for these big updates, right? They're making all these little tweaks throughout the days, and then they do these really big overhauls. And I remember we heard from Jeff Rose back in episode 4. So if listeners want to go back, it's xyplannetwork.com/4. And he used to be a blog every day, 500 words a day. And he said Google one day made an update. It's been a couple of years now. And his search traffic basically went to zero. He was really popular, and then it dove, and it was basically when they made the transition to long form being a good thing, which again we can dig into a little bit. But that was one of those things where he had to revisit and go, okay, he cleaned out a bunch of old articles, started writing 3,000 and 4,000 word articles, publishing once a week instead of every day. And, it's not ideal to try to base everything that you do on, from a blogging perspective in particular, just on what Google wants. But, if you're relying on search traffic and suddenly it dives, that is a big deal. So
it is. And you never know. And so, ultimately, when it comes down to it, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to just SEO. You don't want just social media or Facebook or whatever. But you are dependent on what they do. And as you said, long form has become popular. But if you're you really have, I like to say 3 audiences, but the 2 main audiences you need to, I think, keep in mind. As an SEO, I always keep the search engines in mind, but you absolutely have to keep your users in mind in all accounts. Anything you're writing should be for them, but you might as well make it as search engine friendly as possible while you're doing it.
It's a great point, because if you only look at SEO, if you only write articles to Google, essentially, once the reader gets to your site, if they don't engage with your site, they don't click through other articles and then eventually kind of look to see what else you do and, schedule a meeting, it's useless, right? I mean, then all you do is have a lot of people coming to your site and not really doing anything. So to your point, we're writing, ultimately, step 1 is always focus on who are you writing to? What do you want? What information you want to convey? How do you want to, push them into your sales funnel of becoming a client? But if we can optimize for Google, great. And why does it matter? When I talk to advisors, the vast majority of advisors will say our number 1 source of new clients is existing client referrals, which listeners have heard me say that generally means we just suck at all other areas of marketing besides just doing a really good job for our clients. But right. I think that's actually important, because I think the 2 people that are coming to Google, maybe even 3 different subsets that are coming to Google, one, they might have heard about you from an estate attorney, from one of your existing clients. They saw your name somewhere, they met you at a networking event, whatever, and they're looking for you. So they go out and they Google your name and they look Alan Moore Financial Planner, and they find information about you. We have the other people that are out there kind of searching specifically for what you do. So they may type in financial planner Chicago and they're looking for an advisor. They kind of know what they are looking for. They don't know who they're looking for. And probably the third piece would be they're looking for information. They're not looking for an advisor. They're looking to get an answer to a question. How do I pay off my student loans faster? I'm having a baby. What do I do from a financial perspective? And they're going to find your content. So I would say, are there any other audiences that I'm missing if we kind of think about who's going to Google to look for whatever it is that we're talking about today, and then ultimately finding the advisor?
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it. And so you look at those three different funnels or areas coming in, and your content, you should keep those things in mind when you're writing content. Those people, what questions can you answer for them? And you're right. I mean, referrals are still, a big part of any business. Those are the best type of leads to have, but you're very limited if those are your only leads. And people that have grown up with this technology are more and more reliant on it, and their word of mouth is coming from the internet. They have their conversations online. They check reviews more regular than previous generations, and those reviews. And I know that's an issue with advisors, but they do check to see what your online reputation is. And if nothing else, as you said, Alan, if somebody comes to me and recommends you to me, the first thing I'm going to do is go to your website and look and see what kind of content you have, what kind of services you offer, and get a feel for who you are before I contact you.
So for advisors out there, Google yourself,
Yes.
If you Google Alan Moore, he's the graphic novelist that wrote V for Vendetta and Watchmen and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Good job, by the way.
I know. I do great work. I make terrible movies, but I write great comics.
Right.
No, I mean, and that's what pops up. And I have spent years trying to do things to get my name boosted. Now, I will never beat the other Alan Moore in terms of SEO. I think I've won the Alan Moore Financial Planner, Alan Moore CFP. Has been more my focus. But, I know a guy, John Google, who's an advisor. Now, he spells his name differently, but he loses the Google game.
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
So those are things that we're constantly looking at, how to overcome those, what are people finding online. So let's start with, what do you not do? Because I think that this is an area where some very old school techniques that Google decided to punish, I think we've kind of held on to some of them. There's a lot of articles out there that are very old that say, oh yeah, go out and do these things. So are there any, I guess, SEO myths that you hear people come in with on, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and this will work great. And you're going, no, that's going to be really bad.
Yeah, it does change. So content is an important one. You should be producing content, and it now needs to be original content. I know, particularly with financial advisors, there are lots of opportunities to take content from your brokers or whatever, or repurpose. I talk to advisors that want to leave articles as resources for their readers, but don't want to produce their own content. And it's really important that at some level you're producing some of your own content. Take an article and add to it. Take something from your broker and adjust it a little bit. It's great. You're not reinventing the wheel, but you need to talk or write or video in your own voice.
Is there a rule of thumb for if you have an article and you want to repurpose it, republish it, do something different with it, how much of it needs to change? I mean, does it need to be a full rewrite or 10% of it needs to change? Any ideas there?
It needs to change considerably. You might leave a little bit of it there. I would tend to quote those areas. Google is very good at picking up content. And of course, general statements are okay, but I wouldn't copy and paste paragraphs. For the most part, it should be changing. And one of the issues that we hear about, and it's become a little bit more of a confusing area, even for SEOs, is the duplicate content issue. My belief, and I wrote a paper on this a while ago, but it's, Google has changed so much then, and they haven't updated their statements. You read a lot about duplicate content being a penalty. Unless you're an extreme site producing lots of duplicate content, it's not so much the penalty you're worrying about, it's duplicate. I had a conversation with Stephanie Salmons at Wired Advisor one time, and she sent a great example over. She sent a search term over, and it showed me the results, a screen share of the results, and it had the same article 6 times by 6 different authors. And that's what they want to get away from. They want to provide, you got to think of what Google wants. A lot of times I go back to, what does Google want? Google wants to provide the best answer for their client, the searcher. And if they're producing the same article 6 times as an answer, that's not giving the searcher much of a choice. So they just don't want to show the same article over and over again. They want to show it once. And typically that's going to be whoever publishes it first. So if we're in the same group of content, we buy our content from the same place, and Alan, you produced it last month and me this month, you're likely to show up for most areas ahead of me, although within my area I might. So data is generally the first thing, unless a big site, like if the FPA picked it up and repurposed it, then even though they were after us because they have the authority, or the Wall Street Journal, they would jump us and come over top of us.
Yeah, because it is one of those areas where we say, go out and blog, and we know the SEO value of creating that content and having that content on your site. And people get, they say, I don't have time, I'm not a good writer or whatnot. And so you can buy content from different places. You can, repurpose content on other sites, and we're saying, don't do that. Right. And if you can, ideally it'll be on your site first. And if someone wants to syndicate your content, they could do so at a later date, with maybe a link back to your site or whatnot. But ultimately content needs to be unique.
It does. And it's okay if you find a really great article that you want to share with your people and you have permission to do so or give the right attribution. It's not going to hurt you to have that on your content under a resource library or something, but it's not going to benefit you from a search engine perspective. You just have to understand that.
And we had Kaylee Hawk, the marketing manager for XY Planning Network, on back in episode 27. If listeners want to go listen to, that was an entire episode on how to basically outsource a lot of this work. So if you're interested in starting to blog, but you don't want to actually be the one that is writing, if you're looking for some resources on how to find great writers to give you unique content that are experts and just good at what they do, you can go back and listen to that episode specifically on getting content. So duplicate content, any other big no-nos when it comes to SEO? Yeah,
so I actually just published an article yesterday on this. Backlinks are still a really important part of SEO. And so the first part of SEO is basically Google's looking to check your relevancy and then your authority. So are you relevant to the search term? So if it's Financial Advisor Chicago, if you're an advisor in the Chicago area, you're relevant. Secondly, they're looking for authority and then basically listing everybody out in order from them what they perceive to be the highest authority to the lesser authorities. And once you're at that point, so all the stuff we do on your site with keywords and all that stuff, if you hear about SEO, that's all telling Google what you're about. It's basically your relevance. Authority is based on a number of factors, but one, and probably the most significant, is backlinks. And a backlink means that somebody else has found something on your site interesting enough that they've linked out to your site. And that shares some of your authority with the other site, and it kind of acts almost as a referral for the search engines. And the more backlinks coming from quality sites, quality relative sites that point to your website, the more that the search engines assume you to be an authority. And so there was, up until a couple of years ago, a real industry built around backlinks. You could buy them, thousands of them, for really cheap, and there were all kinds of link farms and all that stuff. And a couple of years ago, Google, one of the big algorithms that you were talking about, Alan, Google Penguin came out, and that basically went after bad backlinks, low quality backlinks. And a lot of sites that had SEO work done before or had done some of the SEO work on their own dropped off. And it takes a long time to recover. You can, but you've got to disavow the bad links, and you've got to then wait for the next update, which they're not very regular right now. Apparently in 2016, they're going to become more regular, but it can be a lot of work, and we've gone through it with a couple of advisors. Now, one of the things that I mentioned, and I believe we've talked about this some time ago, Alan, a few years ago, I know there are popular link groups that exchange with other fee-only advisors and stuff like that, where they link out as a resource, and that gives backlinks, relevant backlinks to other people. But Google frowns upon link exchanges. I'll link to you, you link to me, and if that becomes a common thing, they'll recognize it. In this article that I was talking about, we went through and kind of looked at those kind of link exchanges, and a link exchange is actually mentioned as a no-no specifically, but it says excessive link exchange. And so then it becomes, is 3 or 4 excessive? Is 1,000 excessive? They don't really tell you that part of it. But we did have one person that we worked with that we had eliminated all. And again, when you get penalized, you don't really know. You see a drop in traffic, but Google doesn't come and say, we've penalized you. You kind of have to figure it out. And so you try to eliminate all other possibilities. And then what you're left with, or what your best answer is, you assume. But we're still working through the process, but it looks to us, I brought in another SEO company as a kind of a second opinion, that link exchange, which is very popular link exchange, is the cause of her problems, that she's being penalized for that link exchange now.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I remember our discussion was around, there's a group within NAPFA that has a link exchange. I'm not sure if there's one in FPA. And I was on that for a while, where basically you list out, 100 people sign up and say, we want to be on there. So all 100 advisors post the list of 100 other firms and then have links around. But ultimately what we're saying is, I guess we're looking at it again from the perspective of Google. What are they trying to gauge? And you talked about authority and kind of these social shares and things like that. Google isn't literally sitting there reading your content, reading your site and saying, are you a winner? Are you not a winner? What are they looking at? If we have 2 equivalent sites, I guess, and one, every time they post an article, it gets shared 1,000 times on social media, and a bunch of other people write articles about it and link back to it. And you've got link backs from, popular news sites writing about your site, versus a site that just kind of publishes great content, but no one is actually linking back to it. Google's going to say, hey, we think that first one has more authority. They're obviously doing something right because everyone keeps linking back to them. But that's not a link exchange. That's simply producing great content. It's getting shared, and there's some things you can do there. Right. But just trading links back and forth, what value is that really? Is that really showing authority? And the answer's no, I would say.
No. And now, several years ago when I first started, something like that was common practice. And then it became where Google devalued those, and now you can actually be penalized for them. And that's not to say that everybody is. There's lots of people out there doing that are not receiving penalties yet, but Google is constantly looking. And they do have machine searches, and they do have individuals. They actually employ humans to go out and look as well. And so you get both, but they are looking for quality. And to Alan's point about the first site being the one that everybody's sharing and linking back to versus a second, there's a lot of value still. That's where, to me, social media comes in. Is Google's got a story where you write good content, people will find it, will link to you, it'll rise in the search rankings, and everything is good. And it doesn't work that easily. If you think about how many people actually link to other people's content in their blog within every industry, it's very, very small. Now, in my industry, the marketing people do that naturally just because we know to do that. But most industries you look, there's very few people linking out to other articles, other content, or engaging with other advisors. Why would I want to work with another advisor? He's my competition. And that's just not the case. You need to have that network, or be working on that network of not only potential clients, but people that, will share your content, that you can interact with on social media, that will link to you. And one of the good things to start doing is kind of in this online marketing world is, I belong to a Business Network International, which is an offline networking group, but their saying is givers gain. And that's very true online. If you start linking out to other online bloggers, financial bloggers, there's a better chance that they'll link to you. If you start sharing their work, better chance they'll share your work. And that's how within your area you build, within the focus of the search engines, you build authority.
Absolutely. I love that. So when we look at, you mentioned earlier And we'll dig into each of these kind of on-page SEO, kind of off-page, and then local search. But when an advisor says, okay, I want to show up as financial planner Milwaukee, well, let's just start broad. I want to be, if somebody Googles financial planner, I want to show up. That's a really competitive keyword, right? Because it's so broad. It's going to take us forever to get to where we're financial planner, right? And then if somebody says financial planner Montana, I can narrow it in financial planner Bozeman, Montana. We get to start narrowing it in. But how do you know? Like, how do I know if how many people are really competing for financial planner Gen Y, if that's my search term that I really want to target? Is there a tool or any way to go find out, how competitive some of these keywords are and how many people I'm competing against?
Yeah, there are lots of great tools, and we use some that from an SEO perspective, as we dig down, that we end up paying for. But Google offers a free tool if you go sign up for AdWords, and you have to have an AdWords account, but you don't actually have to put in any money. And AdWords is their pay-per-click advertising. The top 3 ads usually on a search page are paid, and the ones on the right-hand side. But if you go to AdWords, there is a keyword planner tool, and you can put in financial advisor Bozeman and see how often that's searched. Now, that represents national search for a month. If you move down the form a little bit, one of the top line, you put in financial advisor Bozeman, you can actually pick your area. So you could put it for Bozeman or for Montana and see what areas search. Now, one of the things with search engine optimization, you have to look at it from a perspective not of what you want to be found for, but what people are searching for. So typically what I find is, like, if you're thinking in terms of getting a little broader, let's say we're looking at Bozeman. And you think, okay, well, Bozeman, there are, 35 searches a month for financial advisor in there. If I can place in the top, if I can get first spot and get about 45% of those, that's pretty good. What if I went to financial planner Montana? So don't think in terms of your keyword, meaning if you're optimized for financial planner Montana, that anybody in Montana is going to find you. They're only finding you if they search financial planning Montana rather than financial planning Bozeman. And I'm sure if we did a look at the keywords, we'd find that a lot more people search financial planner Bozeman than they do financial planner Montana.
And even though it's only 35 searches a month, I mean, if you're getting 45% of those because you're number one, those are really, really high quality searches as opposed to, showing up for something really random that may not be people actually looking for a financial planner.
Yeah. One of the really great things about search is that when somebody finds you, it's not because they stumbled across you. They were looking for you or somebody like you. And whether they want information or whether they're looking for actual use of a financial advisor or may someday be looking for an advisor, there's somebody that's just absolutely searching for you. And that's where you kind of start figuring out some of your, financial planner Bozeman is a very broad term, meaning it has, somebody could be trying to figure out how many financial advisors there are in Bozeman, how to become a financial advisor in Bozeman, or just get some information or actually find a financial advisor in Bozeman. As you get out to longer tail keywords that have more words and more questions, they actually have found that you can figure out what user intent is. And so I recommend having broad terms on your website and then blog about some of the longer tails. So you might be, how do you choose a financial planner in Bozeman? Might be, a blog post because, that's how to choose a good financial advisor, because that person is that much closer to actually, they want to know how to make a choice on a financial planner. So they're probably planning on using one.
That makes a lot of sense. And so that's all kind of what you're calling on page. So can you just define what is on page SEO, or am I even getting that term right?
Yeah, you are. There's actually 4. I mean, it can be broken down in lots of different ways, but generally there are 4 areas I talk about for SEO. One is on page, and that's pretty much stuff that you can control. It's generally related to relevancy. So we find the keywords, we put them in the places where the search engines look to see what you're about. It kind of is telling the search engines, this is kind of the area that I want to be found for. And there are things that we can control. Sometimes the internal linking, keywords we place on your pages, how we design set up your website as far as what pages to include. That's all on-page kind of stuff. Off-page stuff is less in your control. It tends to be dominated by backlinks, or not that social shares by themselves are a thing, but stuff that other people do with your site. You have less control of it, and that tends to be towards authority. And again, backlinks are just a huge part of that.
So that could be things like when we've talked before on the show about guest posting on other people's sites relative, that are relevant to your niche, things like that. Definitely. Like things that are happening off your website that are building the authority and kind of driving people back to you and your site.
Yeah, those are things. And again, that does usually create backlink stuff. But yeah, that stuff that's authority off your site that's driving people to your site. It's a good way to put it on.
Okay, perfect.
Technical SEO is kind of a newer part of it. When I first started writing about SEO, I never wrote about technical SEO, but as Google makes their changes, it's becoming a bigger part of it. It tends to be on-site stuff, but it's a little bit more like how fast your site is loading. Are you social friendly or pardon me, are you mobile friendly? Things like that, about more how your site is functioning. User experiences, there's becoming bigger, more and more talk from the SEO world and Google about user experience. Is your site set up to be a friendly, good user experience? Broken links, do you have broken links? So the stuff more of how your site functions, how it functions with users and with the search engines. And then there's local SEO, which is really still a different world from generic. So typically what I talk about is organic SEO and local SEO. And both of them are free, and both of them you appear free. They're not paid ads. You appear on the search engine page, but there are a couple different places you can appear on the search engine page. Local SEO, when people are talking about local SEO, that is connected to Google Maps, where you see the little map come up, you have the little red flag saying where you're at, the address and the phone number of the business. So if you have a search engine optimization person talk SEO, they're talking about basically Google Maps. The other listings that appear around it, I generally call organic. And local SEO has a different process. It's a little bit more set out as far as you register with Google Maps. You try to build citations. But then about a year and a half ago, Google came out with the Hummingbird update, which was for local. And it brought in not only local, but applied all the organic stuff of relevancy, on-page, off-page, authority stuff onto local as well.
So basically it's causing it all to work together instead of in isolation like it was before.
Exactly. I know it kind of took a long way around that one. But yes, local combines everything. Organic doesn't put you on the maps, but it does put you in the other places. And you need all of the off-page, on-page technical stuff to get there.
Now, I know for listeners, sometimes it can be a little much to try to envision all this, but just go to Google and do some searching. I mean, play around with it and say financial planner, your local area. Mm-hmm. You use this all the time, right? So when you're looking for a restaurant, if you say like, I'm looking for, I want a sushi restaurant nearby, that's going to be your local SEO is really going to push that. So that's going to be what's going to be the closest sushi restaurant that's really, really good based on reviews and their website and all of those sorts of things. And then if you just type in sushi restaurant, while you still got that local, you're going to get some other stuff that starts popping up, which is more that organic. You're going to get the paid ads around the top and the sides if you don't have an ad blocker. You're going to see, the restaurants that say, well, I don't rank high enough, so I'm just going to pay to be ranked. Now, if you want to learn how to cook sushi, then that's a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah,
right. Your sushi restaurants may pop up, but also your sushi cooking class may pop up. So this is the same thing in financial planning. When we're looking for answers to like how to do your own financial planning, suddenly the some stuff's popping up. If you're looking for a financial planner locally, different firms are popping up. So it is kind of interesting to just kind of get familiar with Google to start learning what all is there.
For sure. And so one of the advantages of local is only people that have a physical address in that area should be able to show up in the local search. The disadvantage to it is it's very broad terms. So it'll be sushi restaurant or financial planner, but not estate planning. So then you combine the organic. The organic allows you to try to optimize for other areas, try to optimize for other services or products that you offer. And it is, Google is learning. One of the things that's happening with search is as voice search becomes more predominant, people are asking very specific questions. Now they speak differently than they typed. And so when you're creating content, answer those questions that people are asking about. So not only will you be found for financial planner, but if you're looking for, maybe you want to connect with the do-it-yourselfers thinking that eventually they will come into your sales funnel, you'll want to write articles. What is a financial plan? How do you set up your financial plan? Stuff like that. Be very specific in answering those questions as you write articles, and you can show for the variety of searches that Ellen was talking about.
So where do you start? Obviously, folks can hire an SEO person, and I'll give you the opportunity to shout out just a little bit here. Because like you said, there's a lot of people out there that are hacks. I mean, honestly,
yes.
And I think we can take a step back and I can say this part. If anyone guarantees anything in SEO, walk away.
Yep.
Because ultimately they don't know anything more than any of the other SEO folks do. Like there's no special secret sauce. There's no, hire us and you'll be on the front page of Google for every single thing ever. Just walk away from that stuff. But, how do you evaluate hiring someone to help with this? And then we'll move into how to do some of this yourself if you're interested in I guess, more the DIY approach.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's good. And I get calls every week, and the one I've been getting lately is are you interested in getting more clients? We can put you on one of the top positions in the search engine for in your city, and we'll guarantee you're going to be the only one there. And first of all, they can't do that. But what they're talking about, and I've questioned them down, and they still won't admit it. I finally got a manager on, they did. They're talking about paid advertising. And you can get to number one easily with paid advertising. So if somebody's calling you to sell you SEO, I would take that as a red flag, first of all, because if they believe in internet marketing, they should be using internet marketing to reach you rather than cold calling you. So I would not work with somebody that cold calls me offering SEO services.
That's a really funny point. I like that.
Any guarantees, Ellen, as you said, any guarantees are really a red flag. When you're shopping, what you want to do is, if you're talking to them, it takes a little bit of work, but get an idea. Try to get a good understanding of local versus organic versus paid ads, first of all, when you look at a search engine page, and ask them what they are talking about. Because some, they'll talk about SEO, but really all they're doing is local. And ask what they're going to do. One of the complaints I've heard a lot about is after they've hired an SEO, they never know if anything's been done or not. They can't tell. And so make sure that they're going to establish a baseline, that they have reports of what work has been done and what improvements or changes they're seeing. And it's hard to do, but the other thing I would stay away from is anything that requires you to sign up long-term. Because again, and I know a lot of business models are that way and there's different reasons, but I kind of feel if they're doing a good job for you and you're happy with them, you're going to stay with them.
I love it. No sense in locking. You don't need to hold a hostage, right? If you're doing a great job, exactly. They're going to stay on board. I look at doing SEO work with a professional sort of like financial planning. You have the upfront initial plan development, and this is the upfront SEO work where you kind of go through, do a big audit. It's going to cost a little bit of money. You're going to kind of do all the upfront work. And you can decide, is it worth having an ongoing relationship or not? And I think as financial planners, we would say yes. We think because things are constantly changing in our lives, things are constantly happening. You need that ongoing relationship. SEOs are looking at it the same way. Google's constantly making updates. Other websites are coming in and competing with you for search terms. They want your traffic. So there's value in that ongoing. But again, you don't have to lock in for the next 10 years or turn your site over to someone that they now own your site, which a lot of folks are doing these days. You can maintain control of your site, keep it on WordPress, engage with someone for as long as it makes sense.
For sure. And it's not a bad idea to ask them about other clients. And even if you feel like it, see if you can talk to any of those clients. It's like advisor that, if you talk to several advisors, generally you're going to get a good feel for them. And if they're a personality that works with you, even if they all may be competent, but then do a little bit of work. I've talked to some SEO companies or sales companies that are very, very convincing. And I would just, with any financial decision, take some time, discuss the elements with them and maybe talk to more than one of them. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily lock in but you do need to know too, I get this question a lot, how long does SEO take? Well, first of all, the initial results take a while. It is not a fast acting thing. And so sometimes paid ads become a good addition to that while you're waiting. But also it's not generally something, you will benefit from doing basic on-page SEO. That's a really good starting place. But if you're really serious about getting high rankings, SEO is not a one and done thing. It's kind of should be part of any ongoing marketing you're doing, and part of that's content production or whatever. But it's not just something you do and it's finished. You should consider it as, whether it's time or money or whatever you're doing, a long-term investment.
Totally agree. And yes, we're focusing on SEO today. This is part of an overall marketing strategy. Now, this is not like you only have to do SEO and suddenly people are going to flood your company with, as new clients. But there are a lot of things you can be doing. And if you're not paying attention to SEO at all, you could be really missing out. I kind of look at SEO as leveraging up, not necessarily building from the ground up. So it's more leveraging, those pieces that you already have in place. So 2 more things I want to talk about before we close out. One is paid ads, because this is something that comes up quite a bit. If you look at Google, you definitely have the paid ads there, and whether it's on Google, it could also be on Facebook. Facebook has a really strong focused advertising platform that if you only want to market to people that have had a baby in the last 3 months that are interested, that have liked, Toys R Us and live in a certain city, you can literally target it that closely. I'm not sure if Google's quite that focused with the interest base, just because Facebook has a lot of information Google doesn't, but you can spend a bunch of money, right? I mean, in broad terms, like financial planning, I think are going for what, $40-$50 a click.
Yes.
And so literally every time someone clicks that ad, you have to pay Google $50, but you can get really narrow down to, some of these longer tail, really specific things that maybe you're only going to get 20 or 30 clicks on. You have to pay less money. But the flip side is, I guess the positive, as you mentioned, is that it's immediate. You show up on the front page of Google, and that's great. The bad thing is it's only there for as long as you're paying, unlike content, which you can build up over time to get to the front page. So do you find a balanced approach makes sense? Do Google ads ever really work for financial advisors, or is it just a money pit?
Yeah, so it can be very much a money pit, and you're right. The keywords, the broad keywords, have gotten very, very expensive and competitive in financial marketing or financial services. So you're better off to go to a longer term. It can happen right away. If you called me in today in 2 hours or 2 hours, anybody, we can have you number 1 on Google. But a couple interesting things about paid. You are, I think, better. You get a better return on your dollar if you search more longer, specific terms, figure out those terms that people are searching that are really actually looking for your services, not just information about a financial advisor. They tend to be less expensive. You don't need to be number 1. If you're in the top 2, 3, 4, you're going to get sufficient clicks. You don't have to pay to be the really high. However, having said all that, my experience, and this is an area that I've worked in, I've actually trained in Google to do pay-per-click, but I haven't seen it be a great ROI for advisors. I think for some products it is. Facebook, I'm getting more and more interested in. I've actually just recently talked to an advisor that has done more of the organic Facebook stuff, but has really got a lot from it. And when I first started, Facebook was an area I kind of stayed away from for business. But they have a really outstanding advertising platform. And the difference, there's differences in that. LinkedIn has an advertising platform too. If you tend to work with business professionals more, you might want to target on LinkedIn. But the difference between Google and the social media, Google, you're actually looking for a phrase. So somebody is searching for, financial planner Chicago, you can appear for that search. On the Facebook, LinkedIn ads, it's more traditional advertising in that you're just appearing in their stream or on the side of their page. They may choose to click on you or not, but they weren't actually looking for you. However, the number of people are there, and as Alan said, they have incredible targeting, and at this point, it still tends to be quite a bit less expensive than Google.
Yeah, because we looked at this for XY Planning Network. We have some content. Well, we have a podcast specifically on the topic of Daniel Wren, who broke away from Northwestern Mutual. And so we look at we could design a landing page specifically around going from Northwestern Mutual to fee only. And then we could either do Google ads, for people searching for that topic that say, how do you break away from Northwestern Mutual? And they could hopefully see our content or see our paid ad. Or we could go to Facebook and we could say, we only want this ad about breaking away to show up to people who work at Northwestern Mutual, have liked CFP board.
Right.
So we could do that and get it really targeted. So to your point, Google is going to target the people that are looking to break away from Northwestern Mutual and are looking for content. The Facebook is going to pop up in front of people that weren't sure that they were looking for that yet, but maybe we can get in front of them because we know some characteristics about people that are looking to break away from Northwestern Mutual. The important piece of that, and I think this is why advisors lose out, is because we're not going to link them to our homepage of our website. They're not going to go to xyplannetwork.com and be like, what is this? They're going to go to a specific page built for that key phrase that we're putting together content specifically for that ad. Just linking over to your homepage is not going to be all that effective in terms of conversion. We want to be sure they get our ebook and the podcast and we capture their email. So there's a lot of other stuff that goes in with ads. So I agree with you. I think people just don't go far enough with the ads that if they're going to go in, it's a really big investment of time and money. So
it is. And you make a great point, Alan, that all of those ads, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, are made really easy to do. You could go on really quickly and set up an account. it's really easy to spend a lot of money and quickly and not get a return for it. What Alan's talking about is one of the things that's come up in marketing in the last couple of years is when I first started, it was all about traffic. Let's get traffic to our site. Well, what everyone's realized is once you get traffic, they go away. And you need some way of connecting to that traffic. And so offering like an ebook or a white paper or content, some kind of lead magnet is huge. And with paid ads, you've got to get beyond just sending them to your website. You need to have a landing page that's geared towards them. You need to have something there for them to enter your funnel. They're not probably going to convert to your business right then and there. You know, that people don't go to financial planning that way, but you want to connect with them. And so have some way to connect and take that information and continue a relationship with them. So it's not, paid advertising is not generally going to be, I'm going to advertise this month, so I'm going to get clients this month. What you're trying to do is more of either develop leads that you can nurture, or it can be really good in branding. You know, if you're a Bozeman, a financial advisor, you might just want to have Facebook ads up there for anybody in Bozeman of a certain age that shows up. You may not expect them to click on you, but you want them to, anytime they think financial advisor, oh yeah, I see that guy every day on my
That's a great point.
Stream. Yeah. So it's good for branding too. But
so last piece as we're wrapping up. So we've been talking about a lot of different pieces of SEO. And I know, conversations like this, when you're an advisor, especially if you're looking at starting a firm or whatnot, it can be overwhelming because there's just so many things you could be doing. I mean, this is a full-time job. XYPN Network could easily have multiple people doing nothing but SEO work on, full-time staff. You can always do more marketing. So if you were to kind of hone it in and say, like, these are the top couple of things that an advisor can be doing to really help lay the foundation, because again, SEO is a long-term play. It's not a short-term play. So what are the things that advisors need to be doing today to lay the foundation, recognizing maybe it only gets them 80% of the way there and they need to hire someone to take in the last 20%, but how do they get that first 80% in place?
Sure. So the first thing is look at your website. What you want to have is your services page. If your services are all listed on one page, you want to change that. You want to have a drop-down menu where you offer investment management, tax planning, whatever services you offer, but each service should have its own page. That way they can qualify for search rankings. Make sure whatever that service is, that content is part of a headline on your page. And if you know how to get into the inside of your page or have a developer, you want it to be part of your title tag, it's called. So your estate planning title tag should be estate planning Bozeman. And make sure you have enough content. I see a lot of homepage web design now. Homepages tend to be fairly content free. They're mostly call to actions or do this or whatever. However, your homepage is typically your strongest authority page. Every website I've ever looked at, the homepage is the highest authority. So to not have that optimized for your keyword and not have content on there is really wasting a big chunk of your SEO. So have content on all of your pages. And I don't mean just one paragraph. Try to hit 250 to 500 words on a page if you can, but particularly your homepage, have it as a target. From a local side, go to Google My Business and claim your business. Your business may be there already. If not, you may have to add to it, but it's kind of how you connect to the Google Maps page. It doesn't guarantee you're going to appear on maps, but you do at least control that page and show you're there. Another thing that I'd like for that, have your address, your business name, your address, and your phone number. It's called your NAP, name, address, phone number, somewhere so it appears on every page of your web page. Whether you put it in the header, the footer at the bottom, or in the sidebar, it should appear on every page. And then one last thing, if you want to get some more listings, you can go to Moz Local, M-O-Z. And I'm not affiliated with them. I'll just use their service. They offer SEO software, but they have a local service that you can sign up for. It's $85 a year. And there are lots of little directories that you can list yourself on. Moz connects with the aggregators, the main one that shoots out to all the other ones. So it saves some work. It's $85 a year. You can go set up there. It'll set you up in the 4 major aggregators and Foursquare, and that'll shoot your name out to a lot of other little directories.
All right. Good to know. And are you, I always push video because it was something that I did and it really helped. If people are comfortable in front of video, are you finding that doing YouTube videos and embedding those on the website, are videos helping quite a bit, or are you finding that that's not quite as effective as maybe we've been saying?
No, video is great. I love video. And in fact, actually making a move. 2016 for me is going to be a lot more about video. Google really likes video because I tend to read more, although I'm starting to watch more video. Basically, the people that you're targeting, the generations that you're targeting, love video. They much prefer video to reading. And it not only so it does well in search. Google, again, wants to give the viewer or the searcher what they want. That searcher wants video. And YouTube, of course, is a huge search engine. The number, as Alan mentioned, the second largest in the world and owned by Google. So they coordinate a lot. The other thing that video is great for is so I've focused so far on search engine optimization in my business, and what I'm expanding to in 2016 is lead capture and lead nurture. And video is going to be a big part of that. When people come to your website, one of the things that's missing from traditional selling, when they used to get to you, they'd come early or call early. They'd find 3 businesses in the phone book and call them each and ask them a few questions or whatever. Now, searchers are 65 to 85% of the way through the funnel by the time they actually contact you. So you're going to be reliant on your website to make an impression on them and for them to get a feel for you. And although video is not face-to-face, it's the next best thing we have. And it gives them a chance to see you, listen to you talk, listen to your personality a little bit, your expertise. And so not only does it help with SEO, but it very much helps with both lead capture and later on lead nurture if you start sending video out. So big proponent of video.
That's a great point. I mean, our interview with Kaylee a couple episodes ago really focused on kind of that initial lead gen. Now we're really focusing today on, how to optimize and be able to get that information found. We can do a whole other episode specifically on lead capture and lead nurture. And I'll give everyone a hint. If you want to be able to ask Brent questions specifically around SEO, want to interact with other folks around SEO, you can join our VIP community. Go to xyplannetwork.com/VIP. And when you do that, I want you to know that you're hitting a landing page that's specifically geared towards capturing your email address, because that's what we want. I want your email address for this lead capture. So I'm just going to give you I'll just tell you the secret sauce. So you're going to join, you're going to, put in your email address. You're going to get a link to a private Facebook group that you can join. And then you're going to get emails from us over time about the podcast, new episodes that are coming in. That's the lead nurture. So we can do an entire episode about ways to optimize that, but we're practicing that ourselves specifically because, we have all these listeners. So we've had over 30,000 downloads of the podcast. Well, we want to be sure we can talk to those listeners out, off site essentially, or, not just whenever they're listening to an episode, and email's a great way to do that. So that's a great lead in for kind of the bridge into the next step, which is, okay, now they're coming to our site. Now what do we do with them? Because if they just hit your site and go, this sucks, and then hit the X button, not all that valuable for you. So
no, even if they love your content, but you don't know who they are or how to get in touch with them or remind them that you're there, it's really important to capture that. And just thinking about the SEO side of things, Alan, I don't know if you still have them in your library. We did 4 how-to or DIY SEO videos last year for XYN. And are they still part of your library?
Yes. So for XYPN members, you can join, and then you get access to 4-hour-long training sessions that Brent did with us, specifically on search engine optimization. So it's a member benefit that's unfortunately not available to non-members, but when you join, you can have kind of that series that, like we said earlier, takes you 80% of the way there, really dives into some of these different components that we're talking about here today. And then you can decide if it makes sense to hire a professional once you kind of lay that foundation to leverage up what you're doing.
Definitely. And a little plug of my own. I should, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, have a SEO book coming out, an SEO for financial advisors coming out on Amazon.
Awesome. So we'll link to that in the show notes. We can always go back and update that once the episode goes live.
Great.
All right, Brent. So thanks so much for taking the time to be on today and sharing your expertise with us. We really appreciate it.
Alan, thanks so much for having me. And guys, I'm happy to answer any specific questions in the Facebook page, or you can contact me directly. Always happy and interested in talking SEO.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alan. Take care.
Now, I know we have talked a lot about marketing on the show before, so it was awesome to kind of dig in and focus specifically on SEO in this interview. I think Brent had some awesome tips for how you can get started today, and feel like he was able to give a solid overview, kind of general education of SEO and what it can mean for your website. You can access the show notes and additional resources at xyplanningnetwork.com/30. And don't forget to join our VIP community at xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP. This month's shows are brought to you by Wealthbox CRM, a technology partner of the XY Planning Network. XYPN actually provides Wealthbox CRM for free to all of its members. Wealthbox CRM is simple, beautiful, and a collaborative CRM for the modern financial advisor. You can start a free trial in 30 seconds at wealthbox.com and stay tuned for our upcoming interview with the founders of Wealthbox CRM, John Rourke and Dan Ferranti. Thanks again for joining me today. We'll see you next time.
You're not alone, and you're not crazy. It's scary starting, building, and growing your own financial planning firm. And that's why we put together a free private community just for you, the Cutting Edge Financial Planner. Go to xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP or text XYPN Radio to 33344 and join a network of thousands ready to change the lives of Gen X and Gen Y clients.